Welcome to our healing special with my patron saint, Saint Francis, the only of the Catholic saints who was actually an animal communicator. He's got some incredible stories with wolves and with birds, and those are only the ones that we know about. But some of my favorite stories are already in my books. The opening of The Language of Miracles opens with a story about a horse in Buckingham Palace, and I was called in by the head of the military, the assistant adjutant, to find out what was wrong with one particular horse. So one of the most important things we could ever discover is if a problem is emotional or if it's physical. And short of a lot of tests, sometimes painful and expensive trips to the veterinarian, if you can actually tune in and discover, is this an emotional problem or is this actually a medical problem, you can save your animal so much pain and save yourself so much heartache, not to mention money. And in this case, this horse that I was called in to see wasn't eating and seemed to be depressed. So the head of the military, who was taking me through Buckingham Palace going, the animal psychic, which was very funny, having these guards click their heels and salute me as I got snuck into the palace in London. He took me up to this beautiful older horse, and I want you all to read The Language of Miracles so that you can read this story word for word. But I was scared to pieces, and I'm not going to lie about that. And the nervousness and the humility are a huge part of this work. If ever you get to the point that you're going to walk in and say, I know everything and this is easy for me and I'm a great psychic, then you are not a great psychic. You are not part of the process. God works through you. God works through me. It's God's work. It has nothing to do with us and our identity. And we can't bring our ego to it, and we can't let our ego come in and claim it. I can tell you that a miracle happened that day because I was shaking, I was sweating, I was terrified. And when I went up to this horse and body scanned him, and I said, what's wrong with you? He said, I missed my best friend. Now, I always check in with a couple of identifier questions, which is what I also teach you. I said, who's your favorite other animal? And I saw a gray and white cat, and I had no way of knowing that there was a gray and white cat in Buckingham Palace. And I said to the assistant adjutant, he likes a gray and white cat. And he said, oh yeah, that cat comes through the stall, that's Emma. Everybody here loves Emma. All the horses love Emma. Well, she was nowhere in sight. That gave me the indication that I was tuned in. So then I said to him, what's going on? You're not eating, you're depressed, is something wrong? Now, physically, a veterinarian might check his back, his legs, run tests, his blood, his stomach, and not realize that something was happening emotionally. And he said, he showed me the picture of a bay horse standing next to him, very young. He said, I was just training this young bay, beautiful male horse. They sent him up north, he's running in the green fields, and I miss him. I was just training the whippersnapper, and now he's gone. And I received that with a huge wave of sadness. So when you get that avalanche of sadness, then you know this is emotional. He's missing somebody, he's grieving. And then I got the name Bernard. Now, I had no way of knowing that these horses ever got out of Buckingham Palace. I asked him, what's your job? He said, oh, I'm the Queen's favorite. I'm leading a practice on Saturday. Saturday afternoon, I'm leading a practice. Well, I was as scared as you are now to get confirmation on the things that you pick up, because every time you do it, you're going to be a big bundle of butterflies, fluttering, scared. And I said to the military man, gosh, he says he's the Queen's favorite. He's leading, he said he's got to practice on Saturday. And the man said, yes, he is leading the Queen's Jubilee parade, and their practice is Saturday. And he told me Saturday afternoon. He confirmed it was the Queen's favorite horse. And when I said, he said he's missing a bay horse, and that the male horse was standing next to him on his right, just got sent out. He's up in green fields in the Midlands, in the middle of England, running. And the man said, yes, there was a horse standing next to him that got shipped up to Prince Charles hunting facility, where he's running in the green fields. And then I got the name Bernard, and I said to the man, he gives me the name Bernard. And the man turned white as a ghost, almost fainted. I saw the blood run out of his face, and he said, yes, the horse was named Bernard that was standing next to him. Now, this flurry of pictures, of sounds, of words, of tastes, of feelings, of sensation, is you being able to take your consciousness and move it into another living being and see their point of view. That's done through a process of unconditional love, a process of love and tuning into the energy in the quantum field that's being exchanged. So as nature's mind is thinking, as my mentor Edgar Mitchell used to say, nature's mind, the animal is thinking, God is thinking, you're overhearing God thinking as God talks to himself, as nature talks to herself, knowing that we're all cells in the body of God, we're all connected, and you're able to access and diagnose an emotional problem as opposed to a physical problem. That story you'll read about. The opposite story is going to be in the opening chapter of my new book, and that was when Captain Edgar Mitchell, who walked on the moon in 1971, my mentor who's just gone to heaven and is helping me very much from there already, took me to a wildlife sanctuary in southern Florida where the NBC Nightly News was filming a piece on me. Dr. Mitchell volunteered to be on camera, standing up for me, saying that because of the quantum hologram, because of the new latest discoveries in quantum physics about the zero-point energy field, the latest mathematical model that indicates energy can be exchanged through a quantum process, and that energy can be read in no different a way than whales and dolphins are sending out sonar and picking up pictures. A lot of other animals echolocate, like bats. They're insects that have ways of seeing and communicating that's beyond our wildest dreams. We're just discovering their intelligence. But in this case, he was taking me into a tiger sanctuary of all sorts of big cats. I'd never been to the sanctuary. I don't do any work ahead of a meeting with animals. And when I tuned in, I said to the cats, what's going on? Is there any news out there? And I tuned into a black jaguar who said, there's a problem with our eldest tiger. And I said, really? What's wrong with him? And he said he's having problems with one of his teeth. He said, I hope it never happens to me. Then I said, thank you. I tuned into another cat. I said, what's going on out there? He said, a lion said, there's a problem with our tiger. Our king is having problems with one of his teeth. And I hope it never happens to me. And they were very sad about it. Very, very upset. Now, we'll cover the body scan in another lesson, and that's where you're going to be able to locate pain in your own body. My hand kept going up to my upper right molar, and I tuned into another cat, a tigress, and I said, what's going on? And she said, my favorite elder tiger is having problems with one of his teeth. I said, which one is it? She said, upper right molar. When I tuned into him, the king himself, and I said, everyone's concerned about your teeth. What's going on? And the tiger, Raja, who's now with the angels, said, I had a problem with my upper right molar. Now, I turned into the camera of the NBC Nightly News and said, the eldest tiger is having problems with one of his upper right molars, and it's really, really painful. As we walked through the tiger sanctuary, and I came up to Raja's cage, and he came into view, he was still dripping blood from his mouth, and he put his beautiful chin down, and he was in so much pain. And the owner of the sanctuary confirmed that Raja had just had an upper right molar removed to try to get to an inoperable cancer tumor in his brain. And this was my promise to Raja, that I would carry his message out into the world and be able to teach people that animals can think and feel, that we can determine if a problem is physical or if it's emotional. And when we do learn how to tune in, then we're sending healing with all the love, all the rainbow, all the feelings of peace and power and joy and happiness that we're going to pour from our heart to their heart. Because even in that moment, dripping blood with his head hung low in so much pain, Raja looked up at me and he slow blinked me. And he licked, and I licked, and he yawned, and I yawned, and I said, I love you, and you're perfect in every way. You're going to make an absolute perfect recovery. The power of God's light is in every cell of your body. And when you need to ascend, you're going to ascend gracefully and regally as the king should have. The most beautiful death, the most beautiful passage to heaven. So in healing, we're having to find within us our still point, that place where we are God incarnate. We are the Spirit of God. We are the peace of God. We are the presence of God. We are the power of God. And from that place, when we're emanating that energy out to the animals, sending out rainbows, lightning, beams of light from our body to their body, we're able to share that energy and lift them up, so that either their injury or their illness can be transformed completely, or they can make a perfect ascension to heaven, knowing that it's the right thing to do at the right time in the right place, and that we love them no matter what.